What's currently happening in the Xinjiang region of China can only be described as a step backwards in achieving religious freedom globally. And I say this because the Uyghurs in the region have been put at a disadvantage simply due to their religion ever since the rise of the Communist Party, when China's rule was under Mao Zedong, and he wanted to prevent the Russians from taking over that same land. And since these individuals already differed in their religious stances, and the Communist Party was already very religiously intolerant, the communists would always punish the Uyghurs for displaying any signs of faith in public, and this would also result in very violent backlash from the communists, as they often destroyed many mosques and very many religious buildings. And around the same time, the Han population in Xinjiang began to skyrocket, and as many of them migrated there for reasons such as being too poor, needing to work for the Bingtuan, as well as simply setting up their own prosperous and successful businesses within the region. So as the Han population began to grow within the region, which I believe it currently makes up around 40% of the current population there, Uyghurs were denied access to many jobs within the region, and they were denied access to the resources too, a large majority of which were fossil fuels. And there are also many paramilitary groups present in the region to prevent them from doing so. And in 2017 alone, the Han profited $6.7 billion from these businesses, ranging from agriculture, media, finance, and numerous more, using the resources in the Uyghurs' land. And the Uyghurs saw these settlers the same way that the Native American tribes saw European settlers in the days of westward expansion, intruders that were trying to take their land and benefit from it in their own way. And the Uyghur were constantly forced into more and more poverty as the cost of living and access to these resources and basic necessities only went. The Uyghur, however, are not ones to take this sort of treatment lightly, as they have committed numerous acts of violence and have even taken part in many terrorist organizations such as Al-Qaeda. And to counteract this, the Chinese government has set various restrictions that disrupts the Uyghurs' way of life. And this includes things such as making the text in the Quran specifically fit the communist propaganda. And in recent years, this legislation has only been strengthened through the use of police, technological surveillance, as well as altering the minds of the individuals by the use of propaganda and fear. And the government is keen on believing that there's something wrong with these individuals, and they must be forced to stop believing in what they're believing in. And those that don't are deemed as unsafe, and they must go through what China refers to as vocational training centers. And you may have heard of the treatment in many of these Uyghurs in many of these camps, as there have been many reported beatings, torture, and murder reported. A majority of these Uyghurs have been deemed as religious extremists who refuse to abide by the Chinese propaganda. Many of the claims that these human rights groups make against the treatment of these Uyghurs have been criticized and denied by the Chinese government. And if you found this video informative, please consider following both on here and our Instagram page at _0base.